Saturday, February 7th, 2026. You've probably seen the headlines. And for a lot of us, it's just a punch to the gut. Brad Arnold, the voice of Three Doors Down, has passed away. He was only 47.
It's a massive loss. And, it's one of those moments where you realize just how much a specific voice has been woven into the fabric of your life.
Totally.
You hear that news, and suddenly you're thinking about where you were when you first heard Kryptonite.
Exactly. It triggers that nostalgia instantly. But look, the mission of this deep dive isn't just to be sad about it. We've got a stack of sources here. The official band announcements, some pretty dense medical context on his diagnosis, and retrospectives on his career. And when you unpack the life of Brad Arnold, it is wild.
It really is.
We're talking about a guy who wrote a billion-stream hit in a high school math class, who hit the absolute peaks of rock stardom, but also dealt with some incredibly low valleys, addiction, and then eventually this brutal cancer battle.
That's the key word, I think. Battle. Or maybe resilience is even better, because his life wasn't just a straight line to the top. It was a series of obstacles he had to overcome again and again.
Right. And that's why we need to do this. It's not just about the music. It's about the human being behind it. So let's get into it. Let's celebrate that resilience. This is the story of the guy who asked, if I go crazy, then will you still call me Superman? And the answer from millions was a resounding yes.
A very loud yes.
Okay, so let's start with the immediate news, just to set the context. The specific details we have are that Brad passed away today, February 7th, at his home.
And the reports all emphasize it was peaceful, which, given what we know, is a small mercy.
It is. He was surrounded by his family, his wife, Jennifer. And I have to pause here because I love this detail.
Yeah.
He's a professional barrel racer.
That is such a great detail, isn't it? It just paints a picture of their life away from the stage. They were married back in 2009, and by all accounts, she was his absolute anchor through all of this.
The band's statement said he passed after a courageous battle with cancer. Now, this wasn't a complete shock today if you've been following them.
No, not a shock. This has been a public journey for a little while. The timeline is really important here. Brad went public with his diagnosis back in May of 2025.
That was the moment everything changed. They had a huge summer tour booked.
A huge tour, and they had to pull the plug on the whole thing so he could focus on treatment.
And he didn't hide away. I remember that video he posted. It wasn't some publicist press release. It was just him, on camera, talking to his fans.
He was incredibly open. And to really get the magnitude of what he was facing, we have to dig into the medical context. The sources specify he was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney cancer.
And we have some notes here from the National Cancer Institute. The specific type was clear cell renal cell carcinoma, CCRCC.
Right. So let's break that down because it sounds really technical. CCRCC is actually the most common type of kidney cancer. The cells look pale or clear under a microscope, hence the name. Now, usually if you catch it early, it's very treatable. But the tragedy here is that stage 4 part.
Meaning it had spread.
Exactly. Metastasis. By the time they found it, it wasn't just in his kidney. It had already traveled to his lungs. And this is what is so terrifying about this disease. It's often described as insidious.
That's a scary word when you're talking about your own body.
It is, but it fits. The kidneys are so deep inside you, you can't feel a lump there like you might somewhere else. And the symptoms, pain in your side, weight loss, they often don't show up until the tumor is already quite large.
So you could be walking around feeling maybe a little tired, but basically okay while this thing is just growing.
Precisely. And for a touring musician, I mean, think about that lifestyle. You're always tired. Your sleep is a mess. It would be so easy to write off those early signs as just tour fatigue.
That makes his reaction to the diagnosis just even more stunning. Because if I got told stage 4, it's in your lungs, I think I'd just crumble.
He didn't. In that video, he didn't sugarcoat it. He literally said, it's stage 4, and that's not real good.
Master of the understatement right there.
Truly. But then, and this is the pivot, he immediately went to his faith. He said, we serve a mighty God, and he can overcome anything, so I have no fear.
I have no fear. Just wow.
It's a powerful statement. And the sources emphasize this wasn't for the cameras. This was the bedrock of his life. He really framed this final chapter as a spiritual journey.
And that strength, that refusal to just quit. It seems like that was baked into his DNA from the very beginning. Let's go back, way back. Escatawpa, Mississippi, 1996.
The origin story, and it's one of the most relatable origin stories in rock history, I think.
It really is. It's not some gritty club in New York. It's a high school algebra class.
A place where very little rock and roll usually happens.
Exactly. So picture it. Brad is 15. The teacher is droning on. And he's not taking notes. He's just tapping on his desk.
And this is the crucial detail a lot of people might not know. Brad Arnold wasn't just the singer of Three Doors Down.
Wait, really?
He was the original drummer, the drummer and the singer. So when he's in that math class tapping, he's working out a rhythm, he's playing the drums on his desk.
Right.
And that tapping, that becomes the skeleton for Kryptonite.
That blows my mind. Because now that you say that, you can't unhear it. It's that driving beat. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
The whole song is built on that rhythm.
It's a rhythm-first song, and it gave the lyrics this specific cadence. If I go crazy, the syllables just lock in perfectly with the snare hits. It's so percussive.
So he writes this monster hit in math class, gets together with his buddies Todd Harrell and Matt Roberts, and then boom, it's 2000. The Better Life drops, and they are everywhere.
You couldn't escape them. And the numbers back that up. Kryptonite has been streamed over 1 billion times on Spotify alone. And remember, that song came out when we were all still buying CDs.
Right, and it wasn't a one-hit wonder situation. People get that wrong. They think, oh, the Kryptonite guys.
Yeah.
But then you look at the catalog. Here Without You, When I'm Gone, Loser. They were a machine.
They were. And if we look at why they blew up, I think we have to talk about the sound itself. Our sources describe it as post-grunge grit, mixed with emotionally direct songwriting.
Emotionally direct is a great phrase, because they weren't trying to be abstract.
No. And critics gave them a hard time for that. They called it corporate rock. But Three Doors Down understood something that critics didn't. The average person wants to feel something on their drive to work. They want a song that just says, I miss you.
It's accessible vulnerability.
Perfectly put. They made it okay to have those sincere feelings in a rock song again, without all the irony of the early 90s.
There's this amazing anecdote Brad shared in an interview back in 2021. I think it sums up their appeal better than anything. He's playing a show, this is years later, 10,000 people in the crowd.
Oh, I love this story. It's about the generational shift.
Yes. He looks down at the front row, the mosh pit, and it's just filled with 18-year-olds. And he has this moment on stage where he starts laughing because he realizes
that song is older than every single person down there.
Exactly. He realized these kids were jamming to Kryptonite because their parents played it in the car. It became a multi-generational bond.
That is the definition of a legacy. When your art transcends the moment it was created. The technology changed, the fashion changed, but the feeling didn't.
And we have to go here. The journey wasn't all platinum records. The album was called The Better Life. But for a while there, things got pretty dark for the band.
It did. You can't tell this story honestly without talking about the struggles. The band faced real tragedy. We have to mention Matt Roberts, the founding guitarist.
Right, his childhood friend. Matt left the band, and then in 2016, he passed away from an overdose. That must have been just devastating for Brad.
A massive blow. And at the same time, Brad was fighting his own very serious battles. The sources were open about his struggle with addiction, alcohol, prescription drugs.
And he didn't hide it. Which, again, is probably why fans connected with him. But there was a turning point, January 19, 2016.
His sobriety date.
Yeah.
And the story of how he got there is one of my favorite parts of this research because it involves a cameo I did not expect at all.
Lay it on us.
So Brad is at a low point, and the person who steps in to help him is country legend Charlie Daniels.
The devil went down to Georgia, Charlie Daniels. No way.
The very same. Charlie Daniels saw what was happening, and he encouraged Brad to seek help, pointed him to a treatment center in Nashville. It was this moment of, mentorship, the older generation reaching down to pull up the younger one.
That's incredible. And it worked.
It worked. Brad got sober, and he stayed sober, and he was so vocal about it. He's quoted as saying, "There's not one aspect of my life that isn't better due to my sobriety."
Not one aspect. That's powerful. Especially coming from a rock star, where the stereotype is live fast, die young. He chose to live.
He did. And that openness, first about sobriety and then about the cancer, it just deepened that bond with his audience. He wasn't some untouchable idol. He was a human being who fell down and got back up.
And he didn't just get back up for himself. He used that platform to help others. We have to talk about the Better Life Foundation. It's a huge part of his legacy.
Absolutely. And they launched it way back in 2004, so this wasn't some late-in-life thing. He started it when the band was at its absolute peak.
And the mission was what?
Helping children and young adults. Food, shelter, medical help. And they did it in the most rock band way possible. These massive annual concert weekends.
I saw the guest list. We're talking Leonard Skinner, Shinedown, Daughtry. He called in favors from the biggest names in rock to come to Mississippi and raise money.
And it raised millions. But for Brad, it wasn't just about writing a check. He said, "The Better Life Foundation has given me a better life for sure." He saw giving back as something that enriched his own existence. It kept him grounded.
It really paints the full picture, doesn't it? The hitmaker, the survivor, the philanthropist, and the man of faith who faced death without fear.
It does, a remarkably full life, even though it ended at only 47.
It is. So, sadly, Brad Arnold has left us. But let's recap what he left behind. He redefined that post-grunge sound. He navigated incredible loss and his own addiction to come out stronger. He raised millions for kids, and he faced a terminal diagnosis with a grace that is just hard to comprehend.
The band's statement really summed it up. They said his music created moments of connection, joy, faith, and shared experiences. That's the key, I think, those moments of connection.
Absolutely. And, I want to leave everyone with a final thought today. We started this talking about a 15-year-old kid in an algebra class, tapping on a desk because he was bored.
A very relatable image.
It is. But think about the butterfly effect of that. That little spark turned into kryptonite. It turned into a song played a billion times. It turned into a career that funded a foundation that saved lives. It turned into a legacy that will outlive him by decades.
It shows the power of a small creative act. You never know.
Exactly. So as you go about your day, maybe you're doodling in a meeting or you have a little melody in your head, don't dismiss it. Brad Arnold didn't. And look what happened. You never know which small creative spark in your own life might end up having an impact far bigger and longer lasting than you can even imagine.
A beautiful thought to end on.
Rest in peace, Brad. And thank you all for listening. We'll see you in the next deep dive.